He woke to a world of cold wind and searing pain. Consciousness returned not as a gentle dawn, but as a brutal, unwelcome shock. The wind howled, a relentless predator, stealing the warmth from his very bones. He felt a sharp rock digging into his back, a constant, agonizing pressure point in a symphony of hurt. It was a cruel anchor, pinning him to the frozen earth. He tried to move, to shift his weight, but a bolt of white-hot agony shot up from his leg. It did not move. It was a dead weight, a foreign object attached to his body, trapped and useless. The fabric of his pants was torn, a grim window to the damage beneath. Snow lay on his chest like a heavy blanket, a suffocating shroud that grew heavier with each passing moment. It wasn't the soft, playful snow of memory. This was a crushing weight, cold and indifferent. The sky was a flat, unforgiving gray. A small, pale sun hung low on the horizon, a distant, mocking eye offering no warmth, no hope, only the cold light of reality. And in that stark, silent landscape, he knew, with a certainty that chilled him more than the snow, that he was utterly, terrifyingly alone. No one was coming. No one even knew where to look. How had it come to this? Just yesterday he had been so confident, so sure of his strength and his deep, abiding love for the mountains. He felt he understood them, that he belonged among their peaks. It was meant to be a simple, 2-day trip. He'd packed carefully. A rope for one steep section, a good jacket for the wind, a little food to keep his energy up. The essentials, or so he thought. He had his phone, but a frantic check revealed the battery was already critically low, and in a moment of arrogant self-reliance, he told no one his exact plan. A fatal oversight. The first day was perfect, a dream. He climbed fast, his lungs full of crisp, clean air, feeling invincible, welcomed by the mountains he so admired. It was a beautiful, seductive lie. But on the second day, the mountain showed its other face. The weather turned without warning, the sky darkening as if a switch had been flipped. Snow thickened from gentle flurries to a blinding, disorienting wall of white. He spotted a thin trail, what looked like a shortcut, a quick way down. A tempting mistake. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath his feet. He slipped. A gasp, stolen by the wind, his arms flailing for a hold that wasn't there, clawing at empty, freezing air. He fell. A brutal, sickening snap, like a dry stick breaking, as his legs smashed on a jagged outcrop of rock. In the chaos of the fall, his phone flew from his pocket, skittering across the ice to land under a rock, its screen a final mocking glimmer just out of reach. He lay there as the world blurred into a disorienting vortex of white snow and black throbbing pain. The impact had stolen his breath, leaving him gasping in the thin, frigid air. Each moment felt like an eternity, the silence of the mountain broken only by the whistle of the wind and the frantic pounding in his ears. He tried to rise, a primal instinct to escape the biting cold of the snowpack, but his right leg refused, bent at a strange, impossible angle. A wave of searing agony shot up his body, a cruel confirmation of the severity of his injury. He was anchored to this spot. He shouted until his throat was raw, a desperate plea for help hurled into the vast, indifferent wilderness. The wind, a relentless thief, snatched his voice away before it could travel more than a few feet. No one answered. He was utterly, terrifyingly alone. The sky darkened, the sun bleeding out behind the jagged peaks. Night was falling, and with it came the real danger. A profound, lethal cold that promised to seep into his bones and extinguish the flickering flame of his life. He knew he had to act. Panic was a luxury he couldn't afford, a surrender he refused to make. Survival was no longer an abstract concept, but a series of small, deliberate actions. He carefully checked his leg. Through a tear in his pants, the shocking white of bone glinted against the crimson. Nausea surged. He forced it down with slow, measured breaths, compartmentalizing the horror. He found his jacket, zipping it high to his chin. He cupped his face, trying to trap the fleeting warmth of his own breath, a small act of defiance against the encroaching frost. He dragged his pack closer, his fingers stiff and clumsy as he fumbled with a frozen zipper. Every small movement was a monumental effort, a battle against the cold's paralyzing grip. A small knife. A lighter cold as ice. 3 energy bars. A foil blanket. Rope. He laid them out, a meager arsenal against the mountain's might. These were now his whole world, the tools of his salvation. Ignoring the fire in his leg, he carved a shallow hollow and a low windbreak against a large rock, using his gloved hands to shovel snow, creating a desperate sanctuary. Finally, he draped the foil blanket over his head and shoulders, tucking it tight against his body. His breath fogged the shiny surface, a tiny, precious warmth blooming in the heart of the unforgiving night. As the last light faded, the cold pressed in with weight, seeping into his bones, fingers numb and useless, toes, a distant ache. He fought the darkness by thinking of family, his sister's bright smile, his father's booming laugh, small flames in vast frozen emptiness. The pain was a fierce, throbbing fire. He had to keep the leg still. An idea formed, make a splint. He trimmed branches, tied them with stiff rope, imperfect, but it kept the leg from moving. Fire to hot coal. Water was scarce and freezing. He couldn't eat snow, it would steal his heat. He melted snow on the foil with body heat. Tiny drops formed, he licked them one by one. He ate an energy bar, hard as rock. The wind howled, foil rattled. He did not sleep. He couldn't. He replayed his mistakes, but regret would not keep him warm. Only hope and small, deliberate actions. He would face the morning. A weak sun broke the clouds, and with it, a low mechanical hum. He held his breath. A motor, a truck, a snowmobile. He tried to shout, only a rasp. He fought numb fingers for a spark, tried to burn his map. Snow and damp killed the flame. No mirror. Phone dead. But his jacket, bright blue. He waved it like a desperate flag. For a moment, lights flickered on a distant road, then gone. The motor faded. Only wind remained. He sat, hope draining away. He had been so close. He pulled the jacket on. Slow. Defeated. The mountain's silence grew heavier. He gathered himself. Giving up was not an option. He would not die here. He would not let the mountain win. In the vast silent expanse of white, time began to lose all meaning. The sun's slow arc across the sky was the only clock, and it moved with agonizing slowness. Hours stretched into an eternity defined only by the biting cold and the relentless throb of pain from his broken leg. The world had shrunk to this single desperate reality. To keep his mind from fracturing, he counted his breaths, a rhythmic anchor in the chaos. Inhale, exhale, 1, 2. He'd start over whenever he lost track, the simple task, a monumental effort. For each sunrise, he carved a tally into a small branch, a grim calendar marking his survival. 2 lines, then 3. On the third night, the clouds finally parted. The starry sky was breathtaking, a vast, indifferent canvas of cold, distant light. It was beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of his own insignificance. By the third day, a profound exhaustion had settled deep into his bones. He unwrapped his last energy bar, his hands trembling so much he could barely hold it. He ate it slowly, trying to savor every molecule, but it was gone in a few bites. The emptiness that followed was so absolute, he almost cried. His mind, desperate for comfort, conjured a memory of his mother's soup. The warmth, the smell, the feeling of home. It was so vivid it hurt, a cruel reminder of how far he was from safety, from love, from warmth. He knew then that waiting was a passive death. Hope wouldn't find him here. He had to move. He would crawl. Toward a ridge. A trail. A road. Anywhere that made him more visible. Anywhere but here. With methodical purpose, he wrapped the foil from the energy bar around his good foot for insulation. He fashioned a rope loop under his arms to help drag his weight. He would use his arms and one good leg to pull himself forward, dragging the broken limb like a dead weight behind him. The first movement sent a wave of agony through him. His raw hands tore on the icy crust. Bright red blood dotted the snow. He moved inches at a time, his lungs burning, his entire body trembling with the strain. But then he looked at the stick, clutched in his hand, at the 3 small lines he had carved, and he pushed on. The world shrank to textures of snow, sharp edges of hidden rock, the sight of his own bloody hands. Reach that rock, get to that small tree. Each tiny success fueled the next. He whispered, "Keep going, don't stop, just a little further." Then, something out of place. A bright pink ribbon, weathered but unmistakable. A ribbon meant a trail meant people. He adjusted his course. Tracks in snow, fox, rabbit. Animals choose paths of least resistance, paths people take. Where animals wander, water and humans follow. Snow deepened, progress slowed. The sun sank, orange to purple. Night threatened again. Crawling past a grove, he heard it. Not wind, not an engine. A voice, calling out. He couldn't believe it. After days of silence, a human voice was the most beautiful sound. He shouted back, weak and broken, but enough. A man stepped from the trees in a red jacket, a big friendly dog on a leash, just a hiker out for a walk. The dog barked and raced to him. The man's eyes widened at the sight. Calmly the man helped him sit, wrapped him in his own warm coat, and coaxed a small fire to life. The warmth was overwhelming. He keyed a satellite radio. A steady voice answered, "Copy that. We have your coordinates. A team is on the way." The man talked softly, kept the fire going. Minutes, or an hour, passed. Bright orange jackets moved through the trees, calm, efficient. Ropes, first aid, a stretcher. Gentle voices. They lifted him and began the careful descent. He was safe. At the base station, a doctor waited. Warm rooms, bright lights, concerned faces. His leg was badly broken, a complex fracture needing surgery, pins in a plate. Medicine cooled the pain. He slept deeply, woke to his sister by the bed, then his parents, love like a warm blanket. The hiker in red, Dave, visited. A volunteer rescuer at heart, he followed strange marks because you never ignore a sign. Weeks turned to months. Therapy. A limp, then careful steps. He learned to trust his body again. People asked his secret. He said, "I didn't panic. I kept doing the next small thing. I never gave up hope." He planned meticulously, told friends his route, packed extra food, warm layers, first aid, whistle, mirror, a satellite phone, respect for the mountain. Years later he touched the cold rock where he fell. No fear, only gratitude. The wild can be kind and cruel, but hope, resilience, and one helping hand can change the end of any story.